Thank you very much. I'm very, very excited to talk about our story garden space. This is our outdoor space here at Milton Public Library. I believe I have a bird's eye view of our space coming up next. So this is Milton Public Library if you've never been here, and then our outdoor space. Kind of a background of our library. Milton used to have a Milton College, so that green space was actually like a football field, and our library was Milton College Library. So we moved to this building in 1985, became the public library, all that fun stuff. We renovated our library back in 2016 and was able to take over both floors in the building. And then after our renovation in 2017, we were like, what can we do next? And we had this great green space outside of the library that was just, unfortunately, we had to take some trees down because of the emerald ash borer, but it was this large open green space. And we were like, how can we use this space? We knew we wanted to extend our library offerings, give our community members opportunities to do more through the library. So we started talking about the story garden space. And then the next slide kind of shows it from that view. It's an amazing little space. We were able to kind of really develop it a lot. Yeah, just another view. One great thing with our story garden space, we were able to reroute the Ice Age Trail through our pathway. The Ice Age Trail kind of went down a street about a block away, but we reached out and asked if they could reroute it through our pathway that kind of connects our different ramps, and they were like, yes. So having the opportunity for hikers and walkers and people going through the Ice Age Trail has been great. We have a kiosk on the trail that people can check in to a digital guest book, so we can see who's coming through our gardens. Just recently, somebody from Japan, he walked through the whole garden, the whole Ice Age Trail, and he stopped in at our library, which was awesome. But just another kind of way to expand the library's visibility was because of this Ice Age Trail. So it's been really fun. One thing, so we have, you saw in the overhead picture, we have kind of a looping pathway, and along that pathway we do have story walk stations. So this is one of the main things we wanted with our story gardens, because of course library stories, story garden, to have stories. So we have 18 of these stations, so we can do typically a 32-page picture book. We try to change out the picture book every 2 weeks, weather permitting. This winter has been a little bit harder because it has been a harsher winter. I believe last winter we had it all through the winter, but we change them out. We like to feature picture books based on what's happening maybe in the community, what's happening at the library. We hold food truck rallies, so we like to feature food truck picture books. And this is also an opportunity for people to support the library by sponsoring a picture book. So we do allow people to sponsor one of our story walks. $40 allows us to buy 2 copies of the books and the lamination. So people can support the library. They're recognized at the beginning of the story walk. Yeah. But we also use those story walk stations we do poetry walks in April. So we encourage people to submit their poems, and we feature those. We did a pollinator walk. We kind of had some informational signs about different pollinators that you'll find in the story gardens. So that was a fun way to utilize the story walk stations, and hopefully we'll down the road have other ideas of how we can use those as well. One big thing that we do utilize the story walk stations and our gardens for is an art walk. This is a fundraiser that we use for the continued development of the space. We reach out to 18 artists, so 1 artist per story walk station, to decorate a certain shape. So our first year we had those butterflies. Last year we had moons. So we had 18 local artists, and then we auctioned them off. In the 2 years that we've had this art walk, we have raised $23,000 for the continued development of story gardens. And then this year we just announced that we're going to be using a poppy shape because we are doing a community-wide read of Wizard of Oz. So we're tying in the art walk with that. So it's just so amazing when you go outside to our gardens and you're seeing all those beautiful pieces out there. One of our goals with Story Gardens is to have art in the gardens. So besides our art walk, we have permanent pieces that are out there all the time. We have some mosaics, the bee and the butterfly. A local metal artist created this really great metal sculpture that we use to recognize our major sponsors of our Story Gardens. And then the local students made those little totem poles that we have out in the space as well. And then we also have a little free art gallery. So obviously very similar to a little free little library. We encourage people to add their art, take a piece of art. So whenever we have art programs here at the library and we have leftovers, we put them in there. Staff like to fill it up. We encourage community members to come fill it up with their little treasures. So that's always a little fun to see what happens to appear in the art gallery. We really wanted the space to be interactive as well. Besides the story walk, we have concrete chess tables that I always like to say we got because of a grant from the Green Bay Packers, because I'm a big Packer fan. So that was an amazing grant we received. We do have chess and checker pieces available for checkout inside the library if anybody wants to play on those tables. We have musical instruments. We were able to purchase those because of the Art Walk fundraiser, the auction. I reached out to a local tree trimming business to see if they had any tree stumps, and we have a tic-tac-toe little area. And then we did this really fun thing through Playful City Labs that you can text to the birds that are on our big Story Gardens archway. We have 3 birds that are on that archway. We named them. We had a naming contest. But you can actually text to them and they can tell you jokes, give you book recommendations. They give you history about Milton in the library, and we're able to kind of change up the different conversations. So that's a really fun way for people to interact with our space. And of course, with the gardens, we have flowers, lots and lots of flowers. I will admit I am not a flower person at all, so we are lucky enough to call upon like our community members, volunteers to help us maintain, let us know the right types of plants to plant and what areas of the gardens. But you know, peak time of the summer, we have all these colors, we have all the birds and the butterflies. It's really quite the sight to see. One of our main garden areas is our pollinator garden. I will admit this is becoming very wild and quite overgrown with weeds, but it's very, very fun to see it kind of develop and grow and bloom throughout the year. This is where you see a lot of the bees and the butterflies, and this is where we have a lot of our art pieces too. But this is a really fun space. We were able to get some seeds because of a grant for this space. And then we also have a shade garden. This is way better maintained because it's done by a volunteer. It's kind of her baby. She actually developed it with an Eagle Scout as one of his projects. So this has shade plants, prairie plants. A lot of bees and butterflies enjoy this space as well, and it's just so colorful when it's in bloom. And we have raised garden beds. We wanted raised garden beds because we knew we'd probably have lots of volunteers helping us maintain the space. So we wanted plants to be easily watered and maintained and planted. So our local Lions Club built 6 raised garden beds for us, and it kind of has helped us have a clean garden space. And as you can see, we were wearing masks. We installed some of these back in 2020. Just like with our library renovation, we had a lot of community help with our garden space, with both financial help and kind of developing the space. There's Barbara and the Eagle Scout with the shade garden. We had another Eagle Scout build and install birdhouses in our space. And then a huge help from some local construction companies and even shop students at the high school. They actually built our, we call it our outdoor programming space, but the gazebo. So we had lots of in-kind help with this, and lots of community members came together to make this happen. So we did do a lot of fundraising for the space. One of our bigger fundraising initiatives, we call it 100 Monarchs. With our building renovation, about 10 years ago now, we did a 100 Women campaign where we had 100 women donate $1,000, and we had over 150 women. So we kind of want to try that success again with our story gardens. So we have 100 monarchs, and each of those metal butterflies is a $300 donation. So with this, we have raised over $37,000 for our story gardens with just this one initiative. So our story gardens, we did take a lot of donations. We wrote a lot of grants for it. We did not have any city money for this space. It was all raised by library staff and committee members. So just kind of a little timeline. This did not happen overnight. It took almost about 8 years for it to happen. Discussions began right after our renovation. Like I said, we were like, what can we do next? So discussions began, then there was kind of a lull, but then discussions restarted in 2019. And then slowly things started to appear. We had ramps installed. We did a lot of fundraising. The chess tables were installed, like they were out there just all by themselves for a while. The gazebo was built, the walkway installed, and the story walk stations, the Ice Age Trail reroute. Around 2023 is when the garden space really started to be used by community members and staff and like for library programs, because we had the walkway, we had the ramps, it was completely accessible. August 2024, we had our first art walk, and then we have some things that are coming in the future, such as a pet celebration garden. I will talk about that in an upcoming slide. So here we are. So coming soon. So we are always thinking about what else we can do in our garden space. So next we are doing a pet celebration garden. We had a local constructor woodworker build us a bridge that we are going to paint rainbow colors this spring. And then people are going to be able to purchase little circles that they can put their pet's name on. As a pet celebration garden to recognize animals in our lives. So we're very excited for that. We love scavenger hunts here at the library. So we just had a local metal artist create these metal silhouettes that we are going to hide around the library and encourage people to find the shapes throughout the garden space. We are going to do a garden kaleidoscope as well. Oh, can you go back one more? Thank you. We're going to do a garden kaleidoscope, and we're using funds from 2025's art walk auction to purchase that. And one thing we've always wanted to do is to make this a learning space. There's lots of fun to be had in the area, but we want people to learn while they're out there as well. So we are going to be purchasing interpretive signs to talk about the different pollinators that we have, the pollinators that visit the garden space. We have had some trees planted thanks to some grant money that the city has received. So we want information about different trees that are in the space as well. So those are coming soon. And then we'll just kind of go through, so now we use the space for all types of programs and activities. We do art programs out there because you get nice and messy. Our children's librarian does a toddler turkey trot, where they run around the pathway. The little kids run around the pathway. We host food truck rallies. So we bring in 8 food trucks for a fundraiser, and people can sit out in the garden space. Next one. And then some more, we like to bring music out in the gazebo. Story time is done out there. When we had the eclipse a couple years ago, we hosted a program out there. We had the Ice Age Trail come do an informational presentation because we're on the Ice Age Trail. And the next one, I think there's a few more photos. Oh, nope, and that's it. So very quick kind of explanation of our story gardens. It's been a many years in progress type of thing, but I'll be happy to answer any questions afterwards, or you can send me an email for sure too.
So thank you for having me. On the next slide, we have a picture of our library. So Somerset Library is a small space in West Central Wisconsin, about 35 miles from St. Paul, Minnesota. And I work there as a circulation librarian, and I also organize our historical records. So on the next slide, we wanted to create an audio history tour to highlight the community's history and what is behind Somerset and their people. Fortunately, we already had a wealth of recordings in our archives and had noticed growing interest from the community about the history and recordings. My coworker and I had previously seen self-guided history tours elsewhere, and we realized that we had the materials and ability to make our own tour. What we were lacking was time, and that's when we applied for the Will's Idea to Action grant, and receiving the funding is what made our project possible, and we were able to bring our vision to life. On the next slide. We had started by holding a couple of community focus groups to figure out stories and places that really mattered to people. So I met one-on-one, I met with groups trying to talk to as many people as I could to get their opinions. And once we had a sense of themes that interested people, I was able to walk around to those possible tour sites to kind of get a feel for what was actually feasible. So, like where people could safely stop if they wanted to drive, what places had sidewalks, what had clear stories tied to it, things like that. And from there, we started tracking down local people connected to those stories. One example that we have is from a park in town that's named after a local resident. And this story had actually been kind of lost to time. A lot of people didn't know why it was called Larry Forest Park. And it turns out that it was named for a young man who had died in the 80s, and his sister still lives in the area. So we were able to reach out to her and see if she'd be willing to help us. And she was very wonderful. She wrote a whole thing about her family's history in the park. And then we did some light editing for her for clarity and time because we knew that people wouldn't want to stand in the park for 20 minutes listening to an oral history, so we had to shorten it a little bit. But yeah, so once we had that kind of ready for her, we were able to bring her to the library. And so she recorded her segment with me, and that ended up being such a meaningful piece for our whole tour. And then on the next slide, for the tour itself, we ended up producing three main pieces. We created physical signs at each tour stop. We had 11 stops total. We have a printed brochure with a map of all the locations and a web page that has a QR code link that's on the sign that links to the website. On the website, people can listen to the audio recordings, read through transcripts of all the recordings, and they can download a copy of the map if they hadn't picked one up previously. And then on the next slide, we, for marketing, put out yard signs for the tour. We set up a table at one of the town festivals, which you can see there. We also offered a prize drawing for anyone who participated. And I again went to several community meetings to spread the word about our project. And honestly, one of the best promoters of our whole tour was the people we actually featured in the recordings. They were just so excited to be a part of this project, and they naturally told everyone that they knew about it. Some things that surprised us is we originally wanted to use a $600 a year geolocation app, but we knew that as a small town library, that cost wasn't sustainable long term. We could afford it with the grant 1 year, but then we wouldn't be able to continue on with that. Another surprise was difficulties with landowner permission for our signs. One business we had permission from repeatedly took their sign down, which was a little frustrating, but overall, the project was very rewarding. The community response was wonderful, and we even have Robert, a local resident, who loved the tour so much that he even gifted us plaques to recognize our work. And so then, in closing, you don't really have to start big. It could even begin with just one recording and some temporary signage at a town festival to kind of get people interested and get their opinions and people hyped about it. Another big thing was to think about accessibility. How long is a tour? Whether people can drive it, who is your demographic that you're aiming for, and how easy is it for everyone to get to those stops? And partnerships really strengthened our impact. Working with local organizations and residents made such a huge difference, and they gave us so much support, which is wonderful. I'm also happy to share any examples that people need, brochures or map equipment that we purchased. My email's there if anyone wants to reach out for questions that aren't answered today. And thank you again to Wills for making this project possible. It was so wonderful to work on.
Thank you, Renee. Wow, what a beautiful memorial that I mean, in addition to the history that you did for that family and for that young man, that's just fantastic. What a great story. All right, so now we're going to shift to hearing from our friends at the L.E. Phillips Memorial Public Library in Eau Claire. We're joined by reference librarians Stephanie, Bethany, and Jan. They're going to talk about their adults only program that keeps the mess and the mocktails outdoors. So I think I'm not sure who I'm turning it over to first. Stephanie, are you
I'll,
kicking things off?
I
Jan,
can start.
great.
Hi,
Thank you.
everyone. My name is Jan. I have to apologize right up front. I'm recovering from an illness, so I'm going to try to keep the annoying throat clearing and coughing to a minimum, but please bear with me. So yes, in Eau Claire, at our library, we have had a dedicated maker space for about a decade. But we also had a full building renovation in 2022 that expanded the space. And it's now attached to an outdoor patio space as well. So in one of our programming meetings, we were kind of discussing what we wanted to do, what we wanted to offer for that summer. And I mentioned, well, I'm keeping this one idea I had that's kind of messy. It'd be appropriate for adults, but I could probably only do it if we could use that patio, use the picnic tables we have out there. And that kind of kicked off a brainstorming session in our team. People started saying, we haven't really used that patio that much. What if we offered multiple programs out there this summer? What if we made it a series for adults? Well, if we're going to try to capture adults, we should probably have it in the evenings and maybe offer a drink. And so we came up with mocktails because everybody loves mocktails. So in that meeting, we landed on what turned out to be a very effective but very simple formula that we use for this program series, which we call Dabble on the Patio. I should have mentioned our Dabble box, or our makerspace is called our Dabble box. So we offer at each event in the series a craft, a distinct mocktail, and we restrict it for adults only in a drop-in event. So when we first came up with this idea, we were kind of planning for maybe 30 to 50 people will show up at each event if it's successful. It outperformed. The first season that we did this, we saw crowds more in the 50s to 70s range. So obviously we brought it back for its second season last summer, and that attendance actually grew. We saw numbers at each event this time around closer to 100, which is amazing to get that many adults out, especially in the summer when there's lots that they could be doing instead. So we're just going to run through quickly why this formula seems to work, how being outside makes it better, and tips for success if you guys wanted to replicate this kind of format for your own library. So first component is we do have a different featured craft at each event. We had previously tried doing kind of more open-ended club type format things to bring adults into our makerspace. We had a stitch club, we had an art club, and those suffered from low attendance. They either started well, but that tapered off, people stopped coming back, or it just never really took off. So we kind of had to realize, hey, adults have a lot of competition for their time. And so they and they're also a little bit less comfortable with creative chaos than kids are. So they kind of want to know what they're getting into before they come or come back. And they also want to have it be a little bit more productive. They want to walk away with something. So by offering a featured craft at each program, it provides a little bit of that basic structure while still allowing them to be creative and work on their own time. So we go for projects that are of a complexity level where guidance is enough. We don't need to all be providing direct instruction so everybody's working at the same pace. So for each project, we'll come up with prototypes that we have on display. When people come in, they can see what the general idea is. and we write up instructions that we can distribute to people so they can have a little bit of guidance but still work at their own pace and in their own space. The projects themselves are also great promoters of our makerspace generally. So we see some examples of some of the crafts we've done on this slide here in the upper right. One of our projects was we did Northwood coasters. They were some cute, simple wood slice coasters that we had people decorate in kind of a Northwoodsy theme. For that, I used our Cricut to cut out some vinyl phrases that people could stick onto their coasters. I used our 3D printer to make some stencils of Northwoodsy shapes that people could trace onto the coasters. And so on the supply distribution point, I could put up signs that said, hey, these were made with our Cricut. This was made with our 3D printer. So that was alerting people to the fact that we have these pieces of equipment that might appeal to them. Maybe they want to come back during an open lab and try that out. Or if we have future programming with those things, they're more aware of it now. In the lower left, we also see someone holding up a kind of a mixed media collage project that we did. We put out suggested art supplies for that, but we also had our big art closet with all kinds of supplies open. So people were encouraged to rate all of those supplies, see what we had, use whatever they could use creatively for that project. We also see someone using one of our musical instruments that he found when he was exploring the space. So he was just playing some music while the others at his table crafted. So that's pretty cool. So that combination of offering a unique craft at each event and encouraging that exploration, it encourages repeat attendance, both for the series, come back for the next craft and the next event, and for the space in general, come back for that cool thing that you saw. Next element, we have the mocktails. And of course, we combine that with some nice chill music that we play in the background. So this is more contributing to the vibe of the event. So we want to encourage crafting and socializing. So by sharing an activity and a drink, that encourages the adults who come to our event to chat. The music kind of breaks the silence wall for a library event. You can talk, but you don't have to. It's not an awkward silence, but you have things that you can share. You're sharing the space, you're sharing the experience. And we love programming like that. We've seen, friendships start to form, people chatting, people interacting, that community encouragement. And we love that to combat the loneliness epidemic that we unfortunately are seeing in our society today. As for the format, we did restrict it to adults only. So we offer regular open labs every week in our makerspace, but it is all ages. And anything that's all ages, it tends to kind of be determined in terms of activity and noise level by the kids, which nothing wrong with that, bless their little hearts. But if you're an adult, it's easy to find that kind of energy a little bit overwhelming maybe, or if you aren't accompanying children yourself, you may feel that you're intruding on kid space. And so we wanted to really draw in adults in this particular instance. And so we restricted it to them so that we could kind of control that energy level and set the vibe that we wanted. We also offer it in evenings and as a drop-in to try to accommodate adult schedules. The drop-in is really crucial for that because then you don't have to have that feeling or anxiety of like, oh, I couldn't make it right at 5. I was getting off work. Am I still welcome? You can absolutely show in when it works or show up when it works for your schedule and you are able to fully participate. You'll be able to do the craft and hang out with everyone. I've already mentioned vibe a few times. So all of these things kind of combine to create the relaxed summer vibes that we're going for. The outdoor component of it is very helpful for that as well. So Bethany's going to chat a little bit more about that.
Sorry, I had to figure out how to get my mute to turn off. So why outside? The first reason is space. Using outdoor spaces can highlight underused areas of your library. In our case, we had just finished a massive renovation, as Jan had mentioned, and with that, it resulted in a new courtyard outside of our Dabble box. Other libraries might have a nice lawn or patio or just a nice view outside that you might want to draw attention to. Being outside also helps accommodate a larger attendance. With Dabble on the patio, we fill both indoor and outdoor spaces. Other libraries might not have a designated makerspace or meeting room to hold a larger group, or a place where talking and music won't be disruptive to general library use. So getting outside is a good way to accommodate that. Next, we have flexibility. Being outside grants flexibility in what you can do, the kinds of crafts or activities that you can offer, and how you can set up the program. With being outside, it's okay to get messy. It also allows that flexibility in setting up different stations for supplies or for different seating, and that's just a great use of the space. You can go to the next slide, please. Thirdly, we have the vibe, as Jana was mentioning. Being outdoors offers a casual environment versus a more stuffy or formal meeting room or classroom. It is also a chance to get out both literally and socially. Being in Wisconsin, as you know, we are stuck inside at least 6 months of the year, and so we crave this outdoor time with fresh air, warmer temperatures, and sunshine. It's also a great opportunity to get to meet new people or just to have some fun time with friends. And then finally, we do have that audience. Those vibes help us to appeal to an audience looking to enjoy nice summer evenings, get out among people, and gain fun experiences. It's kind of a nice time to maybe keep the kids at home and then just kind of do your own thing. Also in Eau Claire, we have lots of different things going on throughout the summer, lots of music series and farmers markets, trails, parks, a lot of different things that are competing with everyone's time to be outside in that fresh air. So we're just throwing one more element in there, and it's a great opportunity to get people to come to the library, but still enjoy that outside time. But you also want to make sure you're planning accordingly so you don't compete directly with any of your other local events. And then Stephanie will go on to the next stuff.
All right, so we've hosted this for 2 years running now, and I'm going to just share a few of the things that we have found that either worked really well or that we have changed so that they will work even better. So for marketing, there are a lot of different appeal factors that you can highlight. We have a sort of supper club kind of vibe that we use. So we can draw people in using the craft. They can come for the patio vibes and the socializing. They can come to hang out with friends. They can come because it's an alcohol-free event. Last year, there were a couple different Facebook groups actually locally that picked it up as a sober event and advertised it that way, which is kind of funny because all library events are sober events, but this one captures that vibe of, you know, chilling with a drink on the patio without having to include alcohol. So that one actually got picked up on the news even. We also, the second year, offered a giveaway, which in the bottom right corner there is a picture of a mocktail glass that we designed and gave away for repeat attendees. We had little punch cards. If you showed up to all 3 events, you won a free glass. We also had surveys where if you completed the survey and provided your info, we did some drawings to give away more of those glasses. And then we have a few left over that we're going to sell through our Friends of the Library this next summer to maybe recoup some of the costs of the program. If you don't have enough money for glasses, because we happened to have some gift funds available, but they were a bit expensive, you could do some coupons or some other small prizes, coasters, or things that fit in with your theme. For budgeting, our project, like we said, we expected 30-ish people per program, and we are now hitting around 100 attendees. So our budget didn't really change. And so to accommodate that, we try to use less expensive drink ingredients. The very first year, we were really focused on making mocktails that were authentic mocktails. People don't really care if they have an authentic non-alcoholic recreation of a mojito or something. They just want a fruity beverage. And we've been trying to use supplies that we either already have or that we can use recycled supplies, just to keep our costs down. If you go to the next slide. We started out with a 2.5 hour event. Last year, we brought that down to 2 hours, which is enough time for people to have that flexibility that we discussed without the program dragging on. We also try to keep our craft to anything that can be done in 20 to 45 minutes, which gives adults time to create something cool and to sit and hang out and chit chat, but then they aren't feeling rushed either. And then people who come later, like if you can't show up till 6, you still have time to fully participate in that event. The setup, consider your space. We have learned to spread everything out because we get really bottlenecked. The mocktails are right next to the door to our outside patio, so people can grab their drink and go straight out. We've also started distributing a lot of the supplies to the individual tables instead of having people pick all of them up. And then for staffing, we like to staff extra people. We have that option between the 3 of us to share the responsibilities. One of us will create the mocktail and one of us will create the craft, and we'll have extra people around just to help direct the flow of traffic and restock things. I think that's everything. Fantastic. Thanks so much, all 3 of you. What a great program, and the vibe came through your presentation. I think everyone wants to be there right now on that patio. All right, our last speaker today is Steve Thiry, director of the West Bend Library, actually my hometown library. And he is here to share stories about how they use an adjacent Patrons Park outdoor programming space to bring families together on warm summer days. So Steve, I will turn it over to you. Thanks.
Thanks. So long ago when I started working in libraries, we found out that libraries are good for a couple things. One of them is public restrooms. The other one is serendipity. And then I also learned that most of us have ADD. So you'll notice that in my presentation probably. But this is the south side of our library, right off of our front entrance. And I'm going to share a couple little bits here. We have our story walk on the side there, you can see, and we usually do that, change it monthly, and it brings in quite a few people. We also have that translated, so it's usually bilingual. You can see that we have a little sponsor tag in there. So that's how you walk into the back of our library with our Patrons Park. Also, I want to point out, just because it's a neat thing for this year, you'll see on the left-hand side, there's a nice little storm sewer grate, and on the right-hand side, you'll see a lot of piles of mulch. This is not a good combination, and that resulted in a nice flood recently. So I just wanted to point that out so that you don't have that problem in the future. If you're going to prevent having that much mulch by a storm sewer, it's probably a good idea. There's a little tiny sculpture on the left-hand side on that first slide. You don't have that has a chair in it. That's one of our sculptures for Edna St. Vincent Millay, and we've got a local organization that promotes sculpture works in West Bend. So there's a lot of great outdoor sculptures here. So I just want to point that out, and you can go on to the next slide. Thank you. This is the opposite side of our library in the left-hand corner. And this was previous to me being here, or maybe just after I got here. It shows the open space, and in that space on the upper left-hand side, we've had programs that are yoga, concerts. You can see Randy Peterson there on the bottom using that space for a concert. And a lot of our summer reading programs that we can do outside, we do outside if we have an opportunity. On the upper right-hand corner is that's a generated image of our musical garden that's coming in the spring. We had a local music teacher who wanted to do this musical garden somewhere in the the city, and we were chosen as a spot for it. So we have a start of our musical garden there, and there'll be more things added to that. But that was originally in a place that was planned for a large stage, and I'm so glad that we have something else going in there because the stage uses up so much space, and we don't need a stage. As you can see, Randy Peterson likes walking around on the bottom there. So we can go to the next one. This is one of our magic shows from our summer reading program. Also of note, we had 2 floods actually. What I just talked about at the beginning was our most recent one that happened this fall. But when the Patrons Park was put in, there used to be a bunch of houses there. They tore those all down and to expand for the library. And when they seeded in the back, there was a lot of the straw, and the rain washed the straw into that other storm sewer you see in the bottom left-hand corner and caused the flood in our library as well. That was, I think, 2007 or something like that. So yeah, this is just this is a STEM program, I can tell now. We do a lot of our messy programs outside. So science programs that are going to make a big mess, of course, we don't want to do that inside. You'll see some other things that are messy programs out here, but this is one of our recent summer reading program STEM programs. We can go on to the next one. Here we have almost annually, only occasionally our city band doesn't show up and do a concert in the park. But on the left-hand side, you can see our city band there, and they draw a pretty good crowd, and they usually do some kind of theme that's a children's related theme to their music. They didn't perform one year because of the wildfire smoke. They couldn't, be outside and play their instruments very well in that. But that concert draws a pretty good crowd for our library. And then on the right-hand side was our eclipse viewing, which was quite a party. We were there for, I think, pretty much the whole day. Music, I think we had snacks. We had the eclipse glasses and some activities for the kids, and really, really fun time on that day. And then we can go on to the next one. This is oh shoot, what is this? I think this is my horse picture, but I might have that wrong. Maybe I'm going to go to the next one. Let's go to the next. Yeah, let's talk about this. So of course we we're going to do that back end first. I threw these things together. This is how it happens. As we wrap up our summer reading program, we most recently have had a foam party. The kids love it. And so the left-hand side is our foam party. The right-hand side, we've got just a regular story time program that we do. And so those are the things that allow us to do bigger space programs and use that outdoor space. We're very blessed in West Bend to have a large library, so we can do a lot of things inside if we have inclement weather. Of course, I don't want to do a foam party inside, and it is a lot nicer to have the bigger games outside. So that makes for a lovely picture anyway. The next slide is the start of our summer reading program. We always have a ice cream social for the summer reading program to kick things off, and just brings the whole crowd, and everybody comes to the ice cream social, and it's very well loved. So we keep the mess outside, and it's really a nice way to kick off the summer reading program. And surprisingly, you don't have to give much to get people excited about coming to the library. So just a small cup of ice cream and then some toppings that we scoop out for them, and it's a great time. Moving on, this is the one that I thought I was talking about before. Some things are just not very easy to do inside. I think about when we had a juggler and he was juggling fire. It was really nice to have that outside. We didn't do that at this library, but bringing a horse in also is a really great thing to do outside. So we had a horse story time. We've also had goat story time, and all kinds of other crazier things that you wouldn't do inside the library. You don't see it here. You know what? There's a lot of things that I have on my list of things to talk about, but I don't have pictures of them because we don't take a whole lot of pictures through our program. But this is a really well-attended program with the horse. Let's go to the next one, and I'll wrap up on here. A couple years ago, we had some Boy Scouts that wanted to do a project with us, and we did raised garden beds. We had 2 raised garden beds made. So this is very early on in our program on the left-hand side. And we're having another one made, and we also had a Boy Scout do some landscaping with stone around the garden bed to prevent people from sinking into the lawn. So it's a much nicer space. And there's another raised garden bed coming in to fill out that area. So we're going to have one specifically for children to just learn on and play with, and then the other 2 for adults. What this has come from is I think it was partially part of the grant that we did with WiLS. For our last year, we did a cooking program. We did a lot of raising of our vegetables in these garden beds. Volunteers have come to take care of them. We have a little garden club that started now with about 30 people, overseen by some library staff, and they take care of our garden beds, and we got so much produce. And we have people that come by and just pick some things and take it home with them, and that's fine. But also we have things that we use in our cooking demonstration in those garden beds. And off to the side, we have had a pollinator garden, and most recently a pizza garden. And I think we're going back to pollinator garden for that space. So our volunteers are really great. And then sort of in our patrons park, but not really because it's across the road to the other direction. We have a large parking lot, and we have our youth market. And our youth market we're increasing the requirements because so many people want to participate in it. We now require them to take at least one, maybe it's more, entrepreneurial course with the library, and then they can participate in our youth market and sell some stuff at that youth market. It's a large parking lot across the road, but it's really close to our patrons park. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. The kids love it, and a lot of people are trying to copy us. So I think that's about it. I think I'm just about out of time. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Steve. The way in which you're bringing the community together there is really quite cool. Well, we have a good amount of time for questions or comments. So feel free to put those in the chat or in the Q&A box, and we'll make sure. We had one question come through about the source for grant funding for the story gardens, and Ashlee answered that there. So hopefully you all see that. But we'll wait to see if we have any questions. Also, I'll put out an invitation. Do you have programming in your libraries that you're doing outdoors that you're really excited about? Either something you've already done or something you're planning for the coming season. Please feel free to drop those in the chat. Okay, actually, I'll read. I see a question coming in from chat for our friends at Eau Claire. Do you have a digital collection of mocktail recipes you've used in your past programs?
I can field that one. We do not. Like I said, the first year we did try to do some more actual like recipe mocktails, and they were pretty expensive. I know we used a couple different books in our collection to find some recipes. But then this last year, we switched to trying to be a bit more cost effective. So we used a lot of things like lemonade and orange juice and iced tea and things, and just jazzed them up in fun ways.
Actually, I'm going to piggyback on that question, Stephanie, and ask same thing about the crafts. What do you have any tried and true resources that you're using to generate those ideas, or do you just all happen to be, hobbyist crafters on your own time?
Um, can't speak for the other two, but I tend to end up doing things that we do a lot of different programming with crafts, and oftentimes we have to find things that travel well or that take a little bit shorter time or that need to be doable by all ages or by children. And there are always those things that you kind of want to do, but probably are at an adult level or that maybe take a bit more time or that are a little bit more messy. So I tend to save those ideas for this program. Bethany, it looks like you had something to add.
Yeah, I just typically do a Google search for adult crafts and I just kind of flow through whatever I find, different blogs, different Pinterest posts and stuff like that, and then just find something that looks like something that I would want to do and that would draw people in, but that also still falls within our budget.
That sounds great. Yeah, there's so many ideas out there. Thank you. Sorry about that. That was my timer for Steve. You finished early, Steve. So we have some more things going on in the chat here. An outdoor, Milwaukee Public Library is doing outdoor roller skating, bubble party, live music outside, gardening, and story time at their branches. That sounds awesome. If you have bubbles, Sarah says, today we used our patio briefly to make frozen bubbles as a drop-in for those few brave souls visiting us. I love it. So taking that summer programming, bringing it to today, and seeing what happens when it's -12 outside. I love it. A roller derby team demo in the parking lot, combining it with other programming using the graphic novel Roller Girl by Victoria Jameson. That sounds so cool. Anne had a question about budget, and I would love to know who that was directed to, Anne. Is that the dabble on the patio question? Maybe we can just have everyone kind of go through and talk a little bit about budget.
I can talk quickly about budget because we don't have one. We have to have partnerships in just about everything we do. We're a very large library, and our funding is not quite where we'd like it to be yet, but we do have a lot of great partners in town, so we use them to help support everything that we do.
For Dabble on the Patio, we do have a set budget that we usually manage to stick to. I think the first year we may have had 150 per event, but this last year and are coming up, we're planning for this next summer, $200 per event, which for us sounds like a lot for a crafting program, but also really isn't, because when you have about 100 people, that's enough for 100 crafts and a mocktail. So we've learned to be pretty thrifty.
I know that Ashlee, you already talked about the various ways in which you are fundraising. I had a question actually, Ashlee, for you about the sign or the pieces that you do, the monarchs and the moons. What are those made of? Are they wood or are they metal?
So
These-
our first 2 years were plywood, and we learned that although they had really good coating and we prepped them, they did not really withstand well in the outdoor elements. So this year we are going to try to do kind of a more counter grade wood for our poppies. So every year is a learning experience for sure to kind of figure out the best materials and process for it.
Well, I think this seems like the questions are dying down a little bit, so we'll give everybody a few minutes back in their day. But I just want to thank our presenters for sharing your expertise and your time today. We will be sending out the recording, and apologies that we didn't start the recording right away. We'll try to figure out how to make sure that Ashlee's content is all in there, and we'll send that out to everyone who registered for today. So please stay warm. Keep dreaming about those summer days. They're going to be here before long. And we will make sure that we all think about the ways in which we can get out there and interact with our communities. You'll see a slide. Also, I should point out that next month, at the end of February, will be our annual WiLS member meeting. We invite you all to attend, bring a friend. We'll be hearing from 4 other libraries in Wisconsin about how they're caring for their communities. That's our theme this year. And we're really excited to share some updates about what's happening in the WiLS office as well. So Andy, do you have anything else you want to add?
No,
I'll take
my apologies for the partial recording.
Oh, no worries. We're doing it. It's all good. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Dream of warmer days. Stay warm today. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your neighbors. We'll catch you at the next one. Thanks.